a Jewish cemetery in South Jersey. Janka Festinger Spies is buried here. While this is Yanka's last resting place, her story doesn't end here. This is where her story begins. A story that she will tell in her own words from beyond the grave. It was in 1945 that Yanka wrote a 60-page letter about her experiences in the Holocaust. This letter had been hidden for more than 50 years. This documentary is the story of that letter. Yanka is a journey of discovery. Their mother's life in Romania, Poland, and Germany, her Jewish faith, and the emotional existence of a woman who lived through the horrors of the Nazi reign to eventually raise a happy family in America. Yanka and her remaining family, her sister Betty and brother Sandy, worked for the American Red Cross in Rosenheim, Germany. Late in 1945, Yanka met Robert Spies, an American GI with the 39th Army stationed in Germany. They were married on March 3, 1946, in a marriage that was the first to be recognized by the U.S. Army in Germany. The Army even hosted the ceremony. Robert was shipped home later that year, and Yanka soon followed. Twin sons, Oscar and David, were born 2 years later. Yanka was a homemaker and seamstress and was in high demand because she was European trained. In 1961, the family moved to Moorestown, New Jersey, and she worked for Bamberger's department store until her retirement in 1982. Robert died the following year, and Yanka stayed in the family home until the last year of her life. She died in 1994, a victim of Parkinson's. After Yanka's death, Oscar decided to write a play about what he knew of his mother's life as a Jewish immigrant to America. He called upon relatives to share memories about Yanka. It was her sister, Betty, who gave Oscar the information that would forever change his life and his brother's. She would send him a 60-page letter that Yanka had written in 1945. They learned that Yanka had written it for Uncle Morris Festinger, who lived in Cleveland. After not receiving word for years because of the war, Morris wanted to know what had happened to the family he had left behind in Sighet, Romania, when he emigrated to America 30 years earlier. He was finally able to contact Yanka. Yanka begins in an apartment building in Rosenheim, Germany. A solitary figure of a woman is standing at a window.
Dear Uncle Morris, our happiness was boundless as amid joyful tears we read dear Uncle's letter. Since our liberation, this is our first happy moment. After all, we are not so orphaned in this world. We also have somebody to whom we belong.
Very personal words to her uncle, as she describes her forced journey from home to Auschwitz, Birkenau, Geislingen, to Dachau, and finally to liberation.
Within seconds, they opened all the doors of the wagons and ordered everyone out. We had to leave all our packages and get out empty-handed. It was totally, or very, very dark. We were stunned to be there. The only thing that eased our misery is that we were finally out in the fresh air again. It is hard for me to write these words. How in minutes they separated the men from the women, the boys from their fathers, the girls from their mothers, young people from old people, and sadly, those mothers who did not give up their children from their arms were taken with their children to the far side, which there is no returning. Can I say that this was the very worst night of my life? It was like a bad dream. How is it possible that there can be such cruelty, such sadism on this earth? Did all this really happen? And what else was I and thousands of other Jews going to endure? I've become so distraught as I write these words to Uncle that it is hard for me to continue. But since you asked me to write down everything, it doesn't matter even if it takes me a week to do it. I will continue. It was difficult for me to enjoy freedom. Is it possible that for us there is some joy left in this world? Liberation did come, but unfortunately not for Gizzy. She died on the 31st of March, a Saturday evening at 6 o'clock. We were liberated on the 1st of May. 2 days before her death, I begged for a little bit of milk from all the SS women in the camp. Unfortunately, without success. Even though this was her last wish, I couldn't grant it to her. I can't imagine a worse and more bestial nation of people than the Germans. All her suffering was not enough. They kept her body in the bathroom for 7 days before it was buried. I had to see her every time we went to the bathroom. To see her dead like that. The person who was like a mother and sister to me. The person who, when alive, was always smiling and laughing. May 1st, in the afternoon, the American tanks arrived. It was a wonderful sight. The SS gave themselves up without a single shot. Just 5 days before, I told my sister Betty that I would only believe that I've been liberated when I have a whole loaf of bread of my own. Dear Uncle, as I was getting off the cattle wagon, an American soldier took a knapsack from an SS soldier, and by sheer chance, he threw it toward me. And what do you think? There was a whole loaf of bread in it, and many other things. In the midst of happy tears on all sides, the tanks kept coming. Everybody smiling and crying. The American soldiers from the tanks were throwing candy and cigarettes to everybody.
The story ends here at Yanka's grave, here where the story began.